If you want to make high cash months, do you need to launch? Absolutely freaking not. You do not need to launch in your business if you don't want to. And in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how to evergreen your offer so they don't have to rely on launching and draining yourself out just to hopefully get a bunch of sales and then go radio silent. A disclaimer before I get into this, I'm not here to dog on launching. I'm not here to say you should never launch. In fact, launching has helped me in many ways. Just get my business out there, get my sales going, and just get me out of my comfort zone. And so I'm not here to say that you should never launch or that I will never launch. I'm here to help you create sustainable revenue so that if you do launch, it only supports you and it doesn't hurt you, and it's not something that you're completely relying on, because every launch is different. You won't be able to predict exactly how many sales you're going to bring that month. Launches are super reliant on how many people are watching you, how much of a connection you have with your audience at that given time, and those things can change if you're constantly going on and off launching, if you're constantly going from selling really hard to then like laying back and then creating content and being like, okay, we're not going to sell because I'm not in launch mode. For me, I realized I didn't like launching in 2021 when I first launched. The first time I launched, I failed. I didn't sign any clients. And then the second time was actually quite successful. I made $10,000. I signed 8 clients. And yes, that's not a whole lot of money, but to me, I was absolutely elated. So it was really exciting. But at the same time, what happened was I didn't sign any clients once that launch was over. So my sales were radio silent. My audience kind of saw me as, okay, like her launch is over. I don't need to ever like reach out in any way. I didn't know how to sell outside of launching. That was all I was taught. But the idea of doing that again, sending all those emails, everything was just too much for me to handle. I just couldn't do it. It just didn't make sense to me. It was like, why would I make my audience go through that when they don't actually have to? I wanted to find a better way, and all I needed truly was proof that it worked, that somebody else was successfully running a business without launching, because especially when you're newer to business, you really get stuck on certain ways that people do things, and you feel that that's the only way to do it and that there's no way out. You have to figure it out because this is what worked for this person. And we get sucked into those high cash months that other coaches have where they're like, oh my gosh, I made $200,000 in my launch, and you're like, well, I have to launch. Like, look what happened to her. Look at the success she had. And I realized very quickly that I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want that to be how I signed clients, and my income was going away soon, and I had to figure something out. And that was when in 2022, I focused on showing up for my community, giving value, and I know that that's such a buzzword, but I'm going to explain to you what I mean in a second. And what I started to notice was people were like, wow, your content's so helpful. I noticed that I was a lot more in their atmosphere. They were paying attention to me more, all these things. And then I decided that I would do a promo instead of a launch. A promo meaning I just open the doors for a certain amount of time with a certain price point before I increase the price point, and just sold to my hottest audience. And that's how I got people in. And I thought, oh my gosh, that was so easy. And I made $30,000 instead of $10,000. And I didn't have to do a masterclass. I didn't have to do all these emails at all. And it was like the easiest thing I've ever done. I tell the story a lot, but I was actually moving during this time. I was getting married during this time. We had to temporarily live with my in-laws at this time. And I was signing clients in the bedroom of their house. Like it was crazy what I was able to accomplish because I switched the way that I was showing up, and I realized, oh my God, it can be that easy. It was literally me creating content and then going, oh, let me make a promo out of this. I obviously have a warm audience. They just need to be invited to my offer. They would go and DM me. I would set up a sales call, and then boom, they were a client, right? Of course, now I don't do sales calls, but that was how I jump-started this process to make it easier and not need to launch in order to get there, but instead utilize different sales strategies. And I think people confuse the word launching with the word promo. I know I've used those interchangeably. I've said so many times, oh, I had a 30K launch, but really launch meant kind of like the opening of my offer, but it wasn't a launch in the fact that I had all this stuff planned. I had all these emails that I had pre-scheduled like I did the previous launch. I didn't have any of that. I literally had connection to my audience and visibility. And those are the two main things that you have to keep if you want to create this evergreen sustainable business where you sign high ticket clients on repeat. So the first thing that I really want to point out, and I mention it so much in my content, I feel like a broken record, but it's just so important, is shock by value. Creating value for my audience that they're just shocked that I actually gave away my strategy. And before you turn away and you think, no, Molly, like people, I've been taught my whole life or my whole business journey, whatever, that if you give away too much value, people won't buy, blah, blah, blah. Yes, okay, there's truth to that, but I want you to hear me out for a second. When you can shock somebody by giving them value, and this is what I like to call shock value, where you give them a very tangible piece of actionable steps for them to go and then take, they're going to remember that. It is going to be something that they won't forget. And so when your name pops up, they associate your name with something good, with something of value. Oh, this person has helped me. What else does she have? What else can I binge? Whatever. And that was what I started to do all of the time in my content. All of the time, I was continuously giving forms of value to my audience and making it hard to ignore my page. In all truthness, people just are not making enough content that makes it so obvious as to why someone should follow you. Like, what are you actually doing for your audience to make it worthy to follow you? They're not following you to watch you sell. They are following you to get something out of you. And I realized very quickly that when I can give somebody like a shock value, when I can give somebody value very quickly and very fast, they're going to remember that and they're going to come back for more, and I'm going to be able to get their attention in the right way, in the way that will actually help them see why I am a good fit to work with them versus just going viral or anything. Like, this is not going viral content. This is not about that at all. This is about creating connection very fast from the get-go. When somebody first meets you and you give a really solid impression and they actually feel a certain way, they're going to remember that and they're going to keep coming back for more and more and more. And so for the longest time, I was doing this in two ways. I was doing this in the form of reels where I would give people actionable steps because I knew that that would get more visibility and traffic into my page. And then the other way I was doing it was I was genuinely trying to explain things in a way that was comprehensible. And what I mean by that, because the reason why value doesn't work a lot for people is because they think it's just, let me tell you the 3 steps to getting XYZ. Here are the 3 foods you need to eat if you want to lose weight. It's like, of course, that's not going to translate to a high ticket sale. Like, that's the wrong type of value, and that's not what I'm talking about. It's helping people understand certain things and then giving them value. People are not here to be lectured and educated and told all the steps. They're actually here to be understood. So that's the first thing you have to realize when you are giving away value. You're actually not telling people, go do this, go do this, go do this, there you go, goodbye. What you're doing is you're helping them see possibilities, and then you're giving them actionable steps. So here's an example. It's not going to be helpful to tell your audience, hey, if you want to lose weight, you need to eat this, this, and that. But what would be helpful and how you would make that valuable is when you would say, hey, whenever I was struggling to lose weight, I was trying keto, I was trying all these things, and they worked for a certain amount of time until they didn't. And I just couldn't find a sustainable way to lose this weight until I discovered XYZ strategy or XYZ thing. And then hyping up what that was. And this strategy, this thing that you're talking about is what you should be teaching in your offer or to your clients, whatever. And that is what you should be talking to your audience about. You should be telling them why this thing is so important. That way, when you go, okay, here's how it works, step 1, step 2, step 3, they're listening to exactly what they need to do and they know why it's important and it's that much more valuable, and it actually helps them take action because now they're so sold on that being the thing that they should do because you explained why. And just to further prove my point, I have a question on my application when you apply to work with me that says, why am I the right fit for you? Like, how do you know? And 9 times out of 10, someone says, I love your way of doing things. I love your way of explaining things. And it's because I know how to sell the thing versus just tell them what to do. I know how to help inspire action versus just tell them what to do, but I'm still giving them value where they could still go and they could apply the things I'm telling them and get results. And that's how my coaching works overall. I'm not ever selling somebody the secret strategy. What I'm selling is access to me, and that is why people pay me. I was doing this all the time to get the initial attention, but eventually this turned into long form content so that I could continue nurturing my audience in a better, more sustainable way for me. But I did have to start off with Instagram and doing this consistently until I added my long form nurturing content that started to kind of add that element to help nurture my audience and still give them that shock value, but to build a first impression connection with me that made them think, wow, who is this? And how can I figure out how to hire her? That is what I'm talking about. You basically want to replace the short-term hype that a launch would create, and you want to be creating this all of the time. But if you're at the beginning stages, you might have to do a lot more value at the beginning in a different way. And then you can transition into creating a better, more sustainable way of nurturing that kind of does it for you, and you're continuing to show up for your audience. It's something that you should be doing all the time and not just for a solid month or two, and then you go straight into sales if you're trying to get rid of launching altogether. Number two, if you want to get rid of launching, you need to consistently be doing two things: getting visible and nurturing your audience. And I did just mention that, but this is the thing that I want to just hone in your mind is think about it this way. In a launch, you're really focused on getting as many eyes as you can to go to your page, watch your masterclass training, get your offer in front of them, make them a deal that they have to choose right now, all of these things. And that is why it works. What you can do to replace that is learn how to consistently get visible and nurture at the same time. Again, this is why I make YouTube videos, because this is my visibility content, but it's also my nurture content. This is how I get people to really understand what it is that I teach, how I coach people, how I can help them, so that my sales process is a lot smoother and I don't have to rely on all these tactics to get people in the doors. A lot of times what I see and what I've done in the past as mistakes is try to use a launch to fix this problem, when in fact what I should have done is I should have been more visible, or I should have been nurturing my audience more. There was something lacking, and that's why sales go down. And people think that, oh, if I just launch and I make these sales, it'll be fixed. But I will say this right now, your launch will fail if you didn't already nurture your audience, if you just looked at them as numbers, and if you just put them into this like step-by-step plan and didn't genuinely give and genuinely create a very simple, actionable weekly process that helped you continue to show up and continue to talk about your offer in a repeatable way. Anytime my sales were lower, it's because I was missing the nurture aspect or the visibility aspect. I wasn't getting a lot of people watching my stuff 1 month, or I wasn't going in depth enough with my audience. Maybe I just started to pull back a little bit and my audience didn't really feel that I was there. And so when I sold to them, they didn't have a reason or see a reason to buy, right? Or it's, again, you didn't have enough people seeing what you were doing, and so it didn't work, and a launch isn't going to fix that. It's not going to fix a bad community. Again, when I say visible, I don't mean you have to create or you should be creating any viral type content. I'm personally against creating viral content because I have personally seen how it has created a bunch of sales and hype for businesses, only for people to slowly forget about them because their content wasn't building depth, it wasn't building connection, it was only getting people's interest in that moment of time, and it didn't actually go deeper. And so I am truly not a fan of this type of content because it's not going to get somebody to remember you, build a connection, and help you create sales in the long run. You need to create a relationship with your audience, and you need to learn how to go visible, how to get visible by giving value and not just doing a trend or something. The third tip and last piece of advice that I will leave you with is to replace the launch close cart with promos. And I told you the story at the beginning. I just want to hit this home a little bit harder, but you still need some type of urgency for your audience to buy. Now, that's not the case for everyone. There will be people who go and they apply because they heard what they needed to hear and they're like, yes, this is the right time. But you need to continuously create those invitations and reasons to buy right now for that hot audience that already knows. And this is not I'm going to convince you to buy. Here are several Instagram story slides of why you should buy my offer. This is like, hey, you want to work with me? I have spots open. It's creating that exclusive time for people to jump in. Maybe it's your price is increasing. Maybe you only have certain windows where you keep the doors open and then you close them and people cannot join until the next time that you open the doors, even if you didn't sign any clients. That is what I mean. You need to create that exclusivity so that people see the need to jump right now. And I know that can be scary because it's like, oh, well, what if I close the doors and they don't come back? Well, you're missing the point there because you need to create the exclusivity. You need to not just do it for the sake of doing it, but you need to actually have a process on how you enroll clients so they can see your boundaries and they can also see the fact that, yeah, you can't just join any second that you want to. You got to make the decision right now, and here's your opportunity. If you already liked my stuff, this is why you should work with me type vibe, right? And when you do it this way, it's so fun because you're not convincing anybody. It's literally just like, hey, whoever likes my stuff, whoever wants to work with me, now is your time. And having that window of time where you continuously just remind people, and it's like you get to be direct salesy because you've already given and they already know why they should buy from you in the first place, and that's just the best way to sell overall. So yeah, I dare you to try this out. I dare you to make most of your content value driven. I dare you to help people learn why your strategy is the best. I dare you to make one video every week or one podcast episode every week where you just give it away, where you just explain things in the best way that you can so that people can understand why your method is the best, so that they can go deeper with you and feel like they have a connection and your sales can just be that much easier when you do this. It's the best feeling ever when you don't feel like you have to convince anybody in your DMs, anybody on a sales call, why working with you is what they should be doing, because they already know, they've already seen enough, and they're just like, hey, can I please work with you? Please let me know when the card opens, or please let me know when I can join, and they're in. And that's the best way to sign clients, in my humble opinion, is just no launching and just having these opportunities to join and continuing to show up for my audience in a way that's sustainable and repeatable, and I can fix something and adjust it without having to wait for some huge launch to happen again, only to fail, or only for it to not go my way and having to redo the whole thing. You can adjust easily in this way, and you can see, oh, okay, this story worked better this time, or no one really jumped when I said it this way. My next promo, I can just do this, or tomorrow I can just edit this out, or whatever, right? It's a lot easier to adjust and go from there, and to continue perfecting this strategy over time than it would be if you were to continuously be on the launch on and off model all of the time. It's a lot more sustainable for you because you can repeat it and you can add it. And I love that. I love not having to overthink what I'm doing and trying to like put all my energy into one launch. I love being able to wake up every day and know exactly what I need to do, and being able to repeat this process. And that's what I have found. It's very repetitive. But you're not going to get where you want to go if you're not doing the same thing every day. You need to be doing the same thing every day before it actually works. If you're constantly changing things, it's not going to work. You have to commit to one thing and make it work until it does.